What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Knowing is Knowing. I'm your host, Rashad Young, and as always, I appreciate you all tuning in to a brand new episode. If you're new to the podcast, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite audio platform. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, click on reviews, etc. All the great things. I'm always so appreciative of you all supporting, joining, and I can be honest, I have been very terrible at my own consistency with this. And it's one of those harsh truths that you recognize that you cannot do everything all at once. And, what got me into content creation was podcasting. That's the first thing that I did. This was my introduction to understanding how this stuff works, how to be confident in myself, speaking different truths, speaking different facts, I found my voice through this. I found my voice and just being confident, being behind the camera, speaking on the microphone. And I feel like the one thing that got me so connected is the main thing that I've been so disconnected from. And, I think as I've thought about this season and how I want to go about it, again, what's important to me is being honest, being candid, having those conversations, figuring out things that are important to you all. That was a question that was asked, do I ever run out of stuff to say? And I had to think about that. And it is a lot of stuff that I do run out to say. When you're in a space where you are mainly talking about enlightenment, empowerment, mental health, there are different moments and when you recognize that you're going to hit a dead end, you're going to hit a wall. I always love to try to be authentic. I don't want to ever get to a space where I feel like that I'm becoming performative. And I think sometimes that's what shows up in the inconsistencies. And, it's very easy to compare yourself to a lot of these people that we see on platforms all the time. As much as I talk about comparison being a dangerous thing, does not mean that I don't struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot often than what people may think. Just because of a lot of people that I have aspired to be by, I look up to, I'm always seeing the frequency and the output of what they're putting out in their content. And I have to remember that, these individuals have teams. Now, granted, that's not an excuse for a lack of output. That's not an excuse for not doing things. It's just a reality of that. At some point, everybody needs help. And so the point of this episode today is to actually discuss the concept of capacity versus desires and what exactly that means. I think for me, I have to acknowledge that I have noticed a tension within myself lately, this hardship of trying to navigate what exactly is my capacity versus my desire. I think I am in a space where I want to say yes to so many different things because I truly feel that I'm finally catching a stride, that I'm getting to a point where I am starting to kind of see the fruits of my labors, or to just start getting the sense of exposure that I've always desired in certain spaces. And so I think now at some points I've gotten a little desperate. I can be honest, gotten a little desperate in saying yes because I love the feeling of doing what I do. And I'm sometimes scared to let it go because I don't think it's going to come back. And so when you're in that space where your capacity is larger, weighs more than your desires, you're putting yourself more in the detriment than in the surplus. And that's something that I have to be honest with myself is that I think of when I experience so much burnout in my life. It is because of these things. It's because I'm always consistently saying yes to something because, again, I want to control what is it that I am trying to maintain. And because that happens so frequently, not only am I shortcutting myself, I'm shortcutting the people around me. The concept of wanting something for yourself and wanting to be there for other people and then truthfully being able to show up for it is showing itself. I always feel like I have to always say yes. And the moment that I don't say yes is that's it. It's never going to happen again, or going to look at me differently, or people are going to ask you questions and, I'm going to lose the trust of people that have, depended so much. I mean, I've always taken value in being the dependent one. And there's always an issue. The issue with that is capacity matters. Wanting more does not mean you have to give more. We are not designed to empty our own cup if we're not going to be able to have it refilled by ourselves or people around us. I think especially in the space of understanding the attachment styles of people, people may struggle with people pleasing tendencies. They really struggle with this concept of capacity versus desire. Because again, the moment that you say no to somebody, what does that look like? How do you respond? Are you okay with disappointing people? And that's what it really comes down to, is really having the fear of disappointing somebody because you just don't have the capacity to do so. I think sometimes I have struggled to say no because I never wanted somebody to see me weak. I always wanted to feel that I had a sense of strength and a sense of control so nobody can ever see the cracks in my armor. And the thing is, though, is that I caused more, again, a hardship within myself because of that, because capacity matters. After a long day of working with my students, then seeing people as a clinician, now adding in coaching, and then adding in speaking on the side, I am depleted by the end of the day. As fulfilled as I am, my capacity, I probably reached the limit. I think it's a beautiful thing to be busy. I think it's a beautiful thing to go after so many things. And there's also a truth that you cannot do everything the same way, give it all 110%. We talk about balance all the time. And truthfully, I think a lot of reasons why we want so much balance, because we want to feel so fulfilled in our life that we can do all the things we love to do and then also be able to have leisure. And there's just periods in life where that just doesn't happen. The thing is, though, you have to be honest with where your capacity stands. Again, wanting more does not mean you have more to give. I am terrible at that, and I am paying for it every single time. As much as at the moment, I might do something great where I feel like I can do it or I want to do it. On the back end, this past few weeks, I've been sick more than ever. I've been sick 4 to 5 times over the past 6 weeks. I want to say 7. 6 weeks. Just from different colds and flus. And granted, it's the season, but it is, as I thought about it, it is because I have not really sat down and rest. I struggle with the concept of sitting down and just being okay with things being. I always feel like there's another thing I can do or another goal to reach or another task to do. And busyness does not equal progression. It doesn't. You can be busy all day. Does not mean you're going to have more progress. Does not mean you're going to become more successful easier. It does not mean you're going to reach anything. Output matters, value matters, and also patience matters. When you run out of capacity, you are going to lose patience for yourself and everything around you. That's why so many people are dealing with burnout, depression, or anger, or anxiety, because their body is telling them, I am at capacity. So, with this thing, we need to really understand our own personal expectations and to not misinterpret or things are beyond our capacity versus our desires. So you need to understand that just because you have limited capacity does not mean you're not doing anything. Does not mean that you're not a good friend or a good partner. You have to understand the internal things within yourself. You working yourself to the ground. That's one of the hardest things you can do. It's one of the easiest things you can do, because nobody is ever going to say, we do not want you to work harder, especially if it is causing or creating a benefit for somebody else. Like that job that you may love, they're always going to want you to work. Or people around you who want you to pour into their lives, they may always want them because of the feeling. But we have to ask, are we allowing people that are in alignment with us in our lives to do the same for us? Are we placing the boundaries that we need to ensure that we are having that balance of what we desire with our capacity? When you let people dictate your capacity, they will stretch it. When you decide to take power in your ownness of putting boundaries on your own capacity, that is when you start seeing a real growth in your life. It's not, and if you say no to somebody, you're not supposed to convince them to stay. You're not supposed to convince them to see the value. Your worth is not contingent on performance of how many times you say yes. Sometimes your worth really shows itself when you tell people no. more than once, sometimes twice. And again, if you know yourself more enough, if you know yourself to the point of you always there for people, it's okay to tell people no once in a while. Alignment doesn't require over-explaining. You don't have to over-explain yourself. That people truly understand and respect you. Because again, your capacity is going to change just like the season in your life is going to change. Your desires are going to change when they also require you to stretch your capacity. It all goes hand in hand. But when you feel like you have to do more to get a sense of respect or get a sense of understanding, you need to reevaluate that. Because again, if you're not good, nobody's good. And I had to tell myself that. I just recently had a conversation with my supervisor in a therapy space and explaining how bad my self-care is. You know, I couldn't tell you the last time I just sat down for a long period of time and just relaxed without feeling a sense of guilt. I couldn't tell you. As I see pictures sometimes or videos that I make, I look tired. I look like there's nothing else to give. And even though I find a way, and that's just a part of my process, I have to now accept the fact that I cannot do everything all at once. As much as we all will love to. We all will love to be a creator here or a business owner or a super mom or a super husband or whatever. At some point, sometimes your best maybe 50% that day. It may be 10. It may be 90. It's going to fluctuate because you cannot do everything with the same amount of effort in every aspect of your life. That is honestly how you get trapped. There is no true progression in that. It's not. You know, how we show up for ourselves will matter more than anything else. If you don't take care of yourself, none of this other stuff matters. You know? And I think the reason why we confuse the two is because we're often told that we have to work harder to reach our desires, that we have to push past our capacity to reach our desires. And in actuality, hustle culture kind of ruins our life. We are the only few places in the world, and I mean, we can look at statistics, where people feel that they have to work harder to get ahead. And if we look at stats, that's not always the case. There's people working 2 or 3 jobs just making ends meet. We have a bigger issue than what we think. Our desires are important, and so is our capacity. It doesn't mean you're weak if you don't have the capacity past your own means at this moment. If you know taking on another task is not good, you probably shouldn't do that. I'm not just saying that to you. I am saying that for me as well. It all goes hand in hand. So with that being said, as you go into this next phase, this next week of your life, understand your capacity versus your desires. And if you have to take a step back, does not mean it's over. It means you have to redirect, you have to recalibrate, and then you go back and you move forward. Because every day is an opportunity to be better, and there's also an opportunity to learn more about yourself. So take a deep breath, breathe, and you'll be. And I appreciate y'all. As always, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite audio platform. More episodes are coming soon. I have to be honest with myself. Sometimes I got to take a step back, then that's okay. Hopefully do the same for yourself as well, because again, we're human beings. It's only so much we can do in 24 hours. Make the most of it, and it's all going to work out. Until next time, peace.